Now, the Jay-Z 444 album, did you get a chance to listen to it?
Yes, I did.
I would love to hear your review on it, what your thoughts were on it.
I love the Jay-Z album.
You did?
Yes, I did. Mostly because, I grew up listening to Jigga. You know what I mean? Jigga is a staple in my upbringing and listening to, somebody basically give us the game from every level all the way through. And I think that this album is basically a reflection of what it feels like to be a man that's heading into the twilight of his life, you know what I'm saying? He's done everything, you know what I mean? And he was telling us he did everything years ago, you know what I mean? Like, I drove every car, I've done this, I've done that, but now he, is taking a more, what's the word I'm looking for? He's taking a more OG approach to presenting the information, you know what I mean? And I liked it because a lot of the messaging in the album has been being talked about by people for a very long time. You know what I mean? Killer Mike been giving that type of game out for a long time. You know what I mean? Just to name a couple people that I know. Well, Killer Mike, who else? David Banner. Shit. The list goes on and on. It's a lot of people who have been telling you, what's going on and what's not going on out here. But for him being Jay-Z, the God, MC Jigga, to take that approach and give it in the manner in which he did from all perspectives, I respect it because that puts a different type of stamp on the information being reality. You know what I mean? It's coming from the highest up. You know what I mean? One of the most successful entertainers in our generation, black, white, or otherwise. But for him to say the things that he said on the album and confirm that a lot of the stuff that has been presented to us by a lot of different MCs before is real, I respect that a whole lot. And I think that it matches where he is in his life, and I think it's, the best album he's made since probably American Gangster. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think this is the best one he's done because I wasn't really a big fan of the Magna Carta album. I didn't like that one too tough, but this one I enjoyed.
Now, is this album a classic?
Man, you know what, man? Like, I was just having this conversation with my homeboy. Man, that's so circumstantial, Smallz. Like, it's like this. It's no different than being a real nigga. Like, I don't like that term real nigga because what's real to you might not be real to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's all circumstantial. Certain things, certain codes and rules should be, the same across the board, but how you present it and how it's internalized by other people is all circumstantial. So is it a classic to me based on what I judge a classic album on? I can't say yet because I gotta let it live for a little bit longer. I can't call it a classic. It should have only been out a month. You know what I mean? So I gotta let it marinate and live. Like, the reason why the Blueprint is a classic is because when I put the Blueprint on right now, it take me back to the time when I first heard it, sitting in the parking lot of my apartment complex with all my niggas standing around, bumming it out my homeboy Cuddy Caprice, listening to it, and I still feel it every time I hear that brrr, come on. So I don't know if I'm gonna have, the same feeling listening to 444 in, I don't know how many years ago the Blueprint came out, 15 years ago. I don't know if I'm gonna have that same feeling in 15 years, but if I do, then I'll be willing to call it a classic, but I can't do it until then. I think we prejudge our albums a little too quick to really, you gotta sit with something a little bit longer than a couple weeks or months before you start judging whether or not it's gonna go in the classic, hierarchy of albums in hip hop, in my opinion.
But is it safe to say the Blueprint was your favorite Jay-Z album out of the collection?
Yes,
or
the
was
Blueprint, yes, by far. The Blueprint is my favorite Jigga album of them all. A lot of people say Reasonable Doubt, but honestly, I think a lot of motherfuckers say Reasonable Doubt just because Jay say it, because he say that's his favorite album. But to me, Reasonable Doubt isn't better than the Blueprint because of where I was in my life, you know what I mean? Like, when the Blueprint came out, I was 14 years old, so it's like, when Reasonable Doubt came out, I was a fucking child. So it's like I didn't understand it. But when Blueprint came out, I understood everything he was saying. And I was out here trying to make a way and make a name for myself in the streets of D.C. So it touched me and it lived with me. And when I listen to it right now, it still applies today. So that's the reason why it's my favorite album. Not saying The Reasonable Doubt doesn't, but it just didn't impact me as much as Blueprint did.